She didn't walk into that room looking for help. She walked in believing she already had the answers. And that right there is the detail that turned a quiet Hollywood crisis meeting into the most explosive leak Meghan Markle never saw coming. Because while the world thought Meghan was licking her wounds in Montecito, regrouping, reflecting, maybe even humbling herself after one PR disaster after another, she was allegedly doing the exact opposite. She was reportedly marching into a closed-door emergency meeting with one of Hollywood's most feared fixers, clutching a 47-point presentation on how everyone else needed to fix her reputation. Let that sink in. Not notes, not questions, not a plea for guidance, a full-blown manifesto. And according to multiple insiders, that moment was when the entire operation officially went into meltdown. This wasn't some casual brand check-in. This was a red alert intervention, an emergency attempt to stop the Sussex name from bleeding credibility in real time. Netflix backlash still echoing, Spotify humiliation still raw, industry doors quietly slamming shut, staff turnover spinning like a revolving door from hell. Meghan Markle was no longer trending as inspirational, she was trending as unmanageable. And so she allegedly turned to Meredith Maine, a woman you don't call unless your career is dangling over a cliff. Meredith doesn't polish images. She resurrects reputations that have already been declared dead. She's the person celebrities whisper about when lawyers stop returning calls and publicists quietly resign, which is exactly why what happened next stunned everyone. Because instead of listening, Meghan allegedly took control of the room. Sources claim she opened with her presentation, 47 separate points outlining how her image should be rehabilitated. Not once, insiders say, did she pause to ask Meredith what she thought should be done. Not once did she acknowledge that something, anything, might have gone wrong on her end. It was reportedly like watching someone book a therapist, then explain why therapy wasn't actually necessary. One person present later described the moment as surreal. Another used a metaphor that has since spread like wildfire through Hollywood circles. It was like insisting the Titanic was fine while water was already at your knees. And here's the detail that made jaws drop. The leak didn't come from outside enemies. It didn't come from tabloids digging. It came from inside the room. Someone who witnessed that meeting firsthand. Someone close enough to the Sussex inner circle to hear the tone, see the tension, and realize this wasn't just a bad day, it was a system collapse. That's not gossip from a distance. That's a fire alarm from within the building. Because by the time Meghan allegedly finished outlining her demands, the problem was no longer PR optics. It was reality denial. She reportedly insisted on full narrative control going forward. No accountability language, no acknowledgements of past missteps, no growth arc, no concessions. The public, in her vision, would simply move on, forgive what she would not admit. And when Meredith Maine, calm, seasoned, famously unshakable, attempted to explain that accountability is the foundation of any comeback, sources say the temperature in the room changed instantly. You cannot rebuild trust without recognition. You cannot rebrand without reckoning. You cannot demand grace while denying fault. That was the professional truth Meredith reportedly laid out. And that was when things allegedly went off the rails. One insider said Meghan's reaction wasn't just dismissive, it was defensive, sharp, almost offended by the suggestion that she owed the public anything at all. The energy reportedly shifted from strategy to standoff. Another source described it like this. She asked for a surgeon, then told them which organs they were not allowed to touch. The meeting was scheduled for 3 hours. It ended in 90 minutes. That alone told everyone everything. Because when you're paying elite Hollywood crisis rates, meetings don't end early unless one side realizes the job is impossible. And the shockwaves didn't stop there. Within days, insiders say the Sussex operation began to fracture even further. Staff morale, already fragile, collapsed. At least 3 junior team members reportedly resigned shortly after, choosing unemployment over another day inside what one former associate described as constant chaos. Instructions would change overnight. Strategies reversed without explanation. Public posts drop without warning. Teams blindsided by their own client. The now infamous Instagram content, posted without staff approval, was reportedly the final straw for several people. You can't protect someone who refuses to be protected. And suddenly, a pattern that had been whispered about for years became impossible to ignore. This wasn't one bad meeting. This wasn't one clash of egos. This was the latest chapter in a long trail of burned professionals. 14 PR representatives in roughly 4 years. 14. At what point does the problem stop being the experts and start being the person who won't hear them? And then came the detail that sent an even colder chill through observers. Prince Harry wasn't there. Not only was he absent, sources claim he didn't even know the meeting was happening. He allegedly learned about it through staff, not from his wife. Read that again. A high-level crisis meeting about their shared public reputation, and Harry hears about it secondhand. That revelation raised questions no one could unask. Who's steering the ship? Who's being informed? Who's being sidelined? Insiders increasingly describe the Sussex dynamic not as a partnership, but as two parallel operations awkwardly sharing a name. While Meghan was reportedly clashing with crisis managers in California, Harry was back in the UK fighting legal battles, facing family estrangement, and navigating public hostility alone. His father reportedly avoided him. His brother remained silent. The bridge back appeared fully burned, and yet California hadn't delivered the sanctuary he was promised either. One source described Harry as too American for Britain now, but never fully American. A man stranded between identities, between countries, between narratives that no longer fit. And while all of this simmered, the brand kept bleeding. Spotify collapsed spectacularly. Netflix underperformed. Producers whispered warnings. Executives backed away quietly. Hollywood loves difficult people, but only when they deliver results. When the results vanish, difficult becomes radioactive. And that's where the story takes an even darker turn, because instead of reconsidering, insiders say Meghan doubled down. After the Meredith Maine meeting imploded, sources claim she made a stunning decision: bypass professional PR altogether. No fixers, no filters, no accountability brokers, just direct control. Social media is her weapon. Narrative is her battlefield. Everyone else dismissed as obstacles. To some it looked bold, to others it looked like free fall. And behind the scenes, the isolation reportedly deepened, not just professionally, but personally. Even the one family relationship Meghan consistently praised, the one constant presence, allegedly began to strain. Which raises the most uncomfortable question of all. What happens when everyone who might tell you the truth is gone? Because isolation doesn't arrive loudly. It creeps in quietly after the applause fades, after the staff stops arguing back, after the phones stop ringing unless you dial first. And according to insiders, that's exactly where Meghan Markle now finds herself. Behind the manicured Montecito gates, the inner circle is allegedly shrunk to a whisper. Fewer advisors, fewer dissenting voices, fewer people willing or allowed to say, "This isn't working." And when truth-tellers leave, what remains is an echo chamber that applauds confidence while ignoring consequence. The most unsettling rumor isn't about contracts or headlines, it's about family. Sources claim that even Meghan's relationship with her mother, the one connection she has publicly held up as unbreakable, has quietly shifted. Not a dramatic fallout, not a public feud, just distance. Subtle, telling distance. Doria Ragland, once a constant presence, allegedly began stepping back after the Netflix documentary aired. Observers noticed her careful words, her limited screen time, her restraint. Insiders say she wasn't thrilled with how the story was framed or how selectively it was told. One person close to the situation described it delicately. She loves her daughter. She loves her grandchildren. But even love has a limit when chaos becomes routine. Recent whispers suggest Doria no longer spends extended time at the Montecito home. Not out of conflict, but out of self-preservation. And if that's true, it leaves Meghan with something no public figure wants: power without grounding. Because staff are not family. Employees do not tell you hard truths unless they're protected. And enablers rarely save anyone from themselves. And this is where the financial pressure enters the story like a ticking clock. The mansion, the security, the staff, the lifestyle. All of it was sustainable when nine-figure deals were flowing. Now, not so much. Spotify is gone. Netflix is quieter than expected. Hollywood interest has cooled to cautious silence. Executives who once smiled through meetings now reportedly decline calls. One entertainment insider allegedly said they wouldn't touch the Sussex project with someone else's money and a 10-foot pole. That's not gossip. That's industry shorthand for too risky, too messy, too exhausting. And Hollywood does not forgive exhaustion. This is an industry built on momentum. And right now, the Sussex brand is moving backward, fast, which is why Meghan's reported decision to take full control of her own image stunned even the few advisors still standing. No more intermediaries, no more PR professionals suggesting accountability, no more crisis managers explaining uncomfortable realities. Just her phone, her voice. Sources say she believes social media is the only place left where she isn't filtered, challenged, or misunderstood. A direct pipeline to the public, uninterrupted, unedited, unquestioned. But here's the brutal truth insiders are whispering. Direct access doesn't guarantee trust. And volume doesn't equal credibility. In fact, the louder you speak without reflection, the faster people tune out. Meanwhile, Prince Harry appears to be drifting further into his own orbit. Separate appearances, separate causes, separate energies. His focus is narrowed to veterans' work and legal battles, a mission-driven path that contrasts sharply with Meghan's narrative-heavy approach. Those watching closely say it doesn't feel like a romantic split. It feels like a professional one. Two brands, one marriage, no unified message. One observer put it bluntly, when no one agrees who's driving, the car ends up in a ditch. And the ditch is getting deeper. What's emerging from leaked meetings, staff resignations, and industry reactions isn't just a story of bad PR. It's a cautionary tale about control. About what happens when protecting an image becomes more important than understanding why it cracked in the first place. Time after time, the same pattern appears. Experts offer guidance, accountability is suggested, reflection is required, and then reportedly the door closes, the fixer walks away, the producer disengages, the staff resigns, and the narrative resets without ever resolving. History is full of celebrities who believed they could outmaneuver perception, who curated every moment so tightly that authenticity evaporated, who mistook control for strength and discovered too late that audiences can sense when they're being managed instead of met. The difference here is scale. Meghan still has resources. She still has a platform. She still carries a title that opens doors most people will never see. But resources mean nothing if trust is gone. Platforms collapse when audiences stop listening. And titles cannot shield anyone from the consequences of burned bridges. The most dangerous belief circulating among insiders isn't that Meghan can't recover, it's that she doesn't think she needs to change. And if the leaked Meredith Maine meeting revealed anything, it's this. Rehabilitation without accountability isn't a strategy, it's denial dressed as confidence. Hollywood has seen this story before. The star who knows better than everyone. The brand that becomes allergic to criticism. The circle that shrinks until applause replaces advice. The ending is never sudden. It's slow, quiet, and devastating. So the real question isn't whether Meghan Markle can turn this around. The question is whether she will ever allow someone else to help her do it. Because the door is still open, but it won't stay that way forever.